Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to week 2 of my attempt to clean out my fridge before my upcoming move over 300 miles away. I am able and willing to move just about anything that is non-perishable, but for the fridge, I'd like to whittle it down to all fit into my one cooler that I own. And this week I was much more creative with my meals, and I'm honestly very proud of where I'm at in my progress. One thing before we get started with the cooking, I'd like to give my personal, unsolicited opinion on Halo Top ice cream. I found this flavor on clearance for $1 at my Walmart, and I very truly believe this stuff feels and tastes like glue in your mouth. And not just school glue, more like the flour paste you make paper mache with, and I 0 out of 10 do not recommend it, and I regret the space it has occupied in my freezer, and it will most likely be going directly to the trash can. But now onto the cooking. I've got a few summer squash in my veggie drawer, so the first thing I made was some japchae. Japchae is stir-fried noodles, and these noodles are also known as glass noodles because they're made of sweet potato starch and will turn a bit translucent after cooking. When I look at recipes of japchae, the most common ingredients are things like spinach, mushrooms, carrot, and bell pepper, but like most stir fries, you can pretty much use any vegetable you have on hand. And since the noodles are pretty bland on their own, they're the perfect vessel to soak up any flavor you add to them. I stuck with the simple tradition of soy sauce and sugar, as well as I bought this bag of MSG a few months ago and I thought I'd give it a try. This was my second time making this dish, and while it might not be restaurant quality, it's definitely something I'd like to add to my go-to menu options. And I don't know if I added enough MSG because I feel like it didn't really make that much of a difference, but it was already pretty salty with all of the soy sauce, so I didn't want to add any more because MSG is a salt, so it will add the umami and a salty flavor. Since my pan was already dirty from making the noodles, I took the opportunity to make up some fried rice as well. I got my pan going with some more garlic oil, summer squash, carrot, and onion, and once those softened up a bit, I pushed them to the sides. My pan tends to stick, so I added a little bit of butter to the eggs, and once they were cooked through, I tossed in this sad bit of peas that were floating in my freezer, and then some brown rice I'd made the day before. Again, just like the stir fry, egg fried rice is just something that you can put anything you want in. I don't even think you have to put egg in it because then it would just be fried rice. But I definitely wanted to go through the vegetables in my veggie drawer. And then for the sauce, I just used up the rest of the sauce that I made in my previous ramen video. It's a mix of gochujang, garlic, honey, soy sauce, and fish sauce. And I thought all of those would go really nice into a fried rice, so I just used up the rest of that sauce, got everything mixed up, and then here is what it looks like all plated up. Fried rice is definitely one of my favorite things to make, and especially whenever I have leftover rice, or if I'm making rice in general, I will usually make more rice to save for later, so that way I can use it the next day to make fried rice. Because you typically want to use rice that has been made previously, so that way it can be nice and dried out, and the grains won't stick together as much whenever you're cooking it. And speaking of sauces, I have a whole fridge drawer full of various sauces to go through. So some things that I've been making but I haven't really been filming are things like this bowl of crispy chicken tossed in wing sauce, served on top of mashed potato and green beans. I'm not sure why this picture came out so yellow, but I think you guys get the idea. Sometimes just the simplest of things are the easiest plan to go for, so I've just been making stuff like this so that way I can get some of those sauces going out. For more Korean cuisine, I've got a jar of jjajangmyeon sauce lurking in the back of my fridge. So into my pan goes about 2 medium potatoes, 1 medium onion, and jjajangmyeon is traditionally made with pork belly or other diced pork, but I used about a pound of this ground pork and beef blend that I received from my food pantry. We'll actually be seeing the other half of this packet later in the video. Back to the sauce, I added in some garlic powder and continued to brown up the meat. And once everything was almost cooked all the way through, I made another little hole in the middle of my pan and spooned in a generous amount of the fermented black bean sauce to fry it a bit on its own. And the nonstick coating on my pan is starting to give out on me, so when it started sticking to my pan, I went ahead and mixed everything together And then I put in some zucchini to give it a little bit more veg and to bulk up the sauce, and then some chili pepper powder to make it spicy. I do have the traditional like Korean red pepper flakes, but I wasn't really looking for their flavor for this dish, so I just added some chili pepper powder just to make it spicy in general. And then once everything is all mixed together, now is the time to add in some water. How much water at this point totally depends on your preference. At this point, you're looking more so to adjust the flavor of your sauce, as the black bean paste is pretty salty on its own. Like, it's very, very salty on its own. So once you've added as much water as you would like, you're going to leave this to simmer for about 15 minutes to let the potatoes continue to cook. If you felt like you didn't have to really add that much water, go ahead and put a lid on it so that way you don't lose too much of it while you're cooking. And then once your potatoes are nice and soft, you're going to want to add in a cornstarch slurry to thicken it up. When you're adding cornstarch, you want to be sure and dissolve it in just a splash of cold water on the side, and then mix it in as you're pouring to avoid lumps. As well as you want to keep in mind that your sauce will continue to thicken as it cools. So you want to keep cooking it until it's just a tad runnier than you want it to be. And then by the time you get around to plating it up, it will have reached the perfect thickness. As you can see, I tend to make this stuff in large batches because when I get around to making it, I tend to only want to eat black noodles for the next few days because it's so freaking good. Jjajangmyeon is traditionally made with a certain type of chewy wheat noodle and then shredded cucumber on top, but all I had today was wheat spaghetti pasta, and I did give the pasta a toss in some sesame oil to keep the noodles from sticking to each other, and then from there I just used, like I said, that wheat pasta to serve on top. It's not the same as what you would get from like a restaurant or made in a traditional way in general, but the sauce itself is so delicious. I really feel like you could probably put it on anything and it would still taste really good. For my lunch that I take to work, I typically just pack whatever leftovers there are from dinner from the night before. But during this week, I had the particular desire to pack my lunch as if I were in grade school. So starting with this big bowl of chickpeas, I went in and made a batch of chickpea salad. The more you mush the chickpeas, the easier it is to stay inside your sandwich or wrap, but I like to keep some of the bigger pieces in there too. So once you've mushed it up to your desire, in goes some mayo, mustard, salt, pepper, black salt, pickle, and parsley. If you've never heard of black salt, it's basically salt that has sulfur and other minerals in it that when added to food gives it that sulfurous flavor that is associated with foods like eggs. So it makes a perfect egg flavor substitute for a chickpea salad. And then you can also make like vegan tofu scrambles with it and stuff like that. But when you're using it, don't forget that it is salt. So I definitely make that mistake every so often when I'm using it. So when you're adding it, if you want to add any regular salt to this as well, make sure you taste it before you add regular salt because it is salt and it does make things salty. As for the parsley, I don't normally put any herbs in my everyday chickpea salad, but I had some left over from my pasta last week, so into the bowl it went. And for another side story, have any of you guys been able to find the best made brand dill relish? It's my number one go-to brand, and I haven't been able to find it in well over 6 months. And I'm not looking to have any of it shipped or anything. I just want to be comforted with the idea that it still exists on the market. So I thought I'd put this little survey here in the middle, and I'd love to hear from you if you have seen it. But anyway, as I said before, here's a clip of an example of what my lunch may look like on any given day. Today we have a sandwich, a nectarine, a yogurt, and a little pack of chips. And to eat my yogurt, I packed a spoon that I saved from a time that I got Menchie's frozen yogurt. I find that these spoons are very good quality to just wash and use again, and I've probably had this spoon for like a solid 2 years. For the rest of the chickpeas, I turned them into a crunchy snack. I wanted to try out this chipotle powder I received from my food pantry, so I just gave them a toss in a simple seasoned salt and chipotle powder. Roasted chickpeas can definitely be made in an oven, but since I had just such a small amount, I went ahead and used my air fryer. And then I don't think I took any footage of how they turned out, but basically you're just going to keep roasting these until they reach your desired level of crunchiness, and then you can put them on top of salads, or you can just munch on them like popcorn. That's what we ended up doing. We used them like our popcorn slash chip snack while we were watching a movie, and that was pretty good. And while those were going in the air fryer, I went ahead and whipped up a quick meatloaf with the rest of the meat that we used to make the black bean noodles. I've made meatloaf a few times on this channel, and I typically stretch the meat with lentils to make the meal more budget-friendly compared to just straight meat, as well as it adds a little bit of fiber to your diet, so it can't really hurt to put that in there. But what I didn't consider in this meatloaf is that the meat I was using was actually higher quality than the ground beef I typically receive from the food pantry, so it held up to the addition of the lentils much better than I anticipated. My previous loaves tended to crumble, and with this one, I probably could have doubled the amount of lentils and still had a solid loaf to work with. For the seasoning, I just went in with your typical garlic, onion powder, and seasoned salt, and then I shaped it up and then stuck it in my oven at I think like 350 until I felt that it was cooked. But I do think that I had the oven rack just a little bit too low because once it came out, it was kind of ugly looking, but that's okay. We're gonna cover it up. And for the topping, I didn't really have as much ketchup as I would have liked, so I did add a little bit of hot sauce, and that actually turned out really good. I picked up this Cholula wing sauce as an impulse buy when it was on closeout in Kroger, and I do think it's good, but I don't think I'd go out of my way to buy it again. Once I had the top of the meatloaf all nice and covered up, it went back into the oven, and I actually turned on the broiler for a couple minutes so that way it would make like a nice good glaze on top, and here's what it looked like afterwards. For the seasonings, I probably could have been a little heavier handed than you guys saw me in the video. I don't really measure things, I just kind of pour things in. I probably should start measuring for things that I can't taste before it's done. Like when I'm cooking, I like to taste as I go, but something like meatloaf, you can't really do that, so I should probably pick up the habit. Alrighty, so this video is getting a bit long at this point, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut it here. And I wanted to take a second to thank every single one of you who have been leaving comments on my last few videos. I still don't know what the channel will look like in the future, but from all of the encouragement I've been getting from you guys in the comments, it's just really been giving me hope and energy to go on and continue the channel after my move, and I really can't wait to share whatever comes next with you guys. But for right now, in my short-term plans, my biggest challenge over the next 2 weeks will be to target the sauces that are clogging up my fridge door. But like I said in the beginning, we are definitely on target to fitting into my little cooler, and I think we'll be able to get there with no problem. We just need a little bit of brain power to get there. And yeah, that's everything I had to share with you guys. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them down in the comments. Or even if you've just got your own little story to tell. I love hearing from you guys. And if you're new to the channel and you would like to see my next installment of cleaning out the fridge, you are very welcome to subscribe to my channel to be notified when the next video comes out. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night whenever you're watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!